Okay, you're hot.
Okay, Jeff Rice joining us. Member of state championship football team at Penn High School. Jeff, I'm going to start right from the get-go because one of the big things that we're doing with this project is going to go back and create a dynamic about what the Penn Way is. When Coach Giesman came into the program, and between him and Dr. Spiker, they set a standard of how things were going to be at Penn High School, from athletics to academics to all the other things going on. So as a young man who made himself into a starting player, as a guy who came in and just kind of worked his way up the ladder, you understood this probably as well as anybody. But when I ask you, what does the Penn Way mean to Jeff Rice, how are you going to respond?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is opportunity, and definitely hard work, and without those two in tandem, I don't know if a lot of kids would have success. And we were talking about this. I was talking actually with my father the other day, and he said, you know, if you would have gone to Clay High School, you know, you wouldn't have been the player that you were, and you probably wouldn't even started over there, and you probably wouldn't have finished out as a senior. And I think that is because the discipline that the Penn Way brings about, and the opportunity that it brings for folks that are just the kids that are just average players. And so to me, that's what the Penn Way is. And it really, candidly, I mean, it probably was a lot of hope that, hey, one day I can be up and I can be out playing with those guys. And so
Coach Giesman talks about you specifically, about you are the poster child for the program kid at Penn High School. Came in as a sophomore, didn't play a lot as a junior, but you did all the things during the off season to make yourself into a significant player. By the time senior time comes around, you have a great senior season. So let's just talk about the journey that made you a key component in their state championship.
Well, personally, as a freshman, I was playing on the other side of the ball, and I thought I was going to be an offensive guard, probably in 7th, 8th grade. You know, I think Wes Doy and then Chuck Wagner had different ideas, and you know, I struggled. I think that I was always trying to do more, and instead of just letting the game come to me. And so I think a pivotal moment happened personally before what would be my sophomore year of I think it was my sophomore year of high school. I went to it was before my junior year of high school. I didn't play a whole lot. And I was in a Boy Scout camp, and I think I lost about 20 pounds. But in the scheme of things, I think I was on I can't remember who I was traded for, but I was traded from the offensive side of the ball for Mike Arnold, who's a very, very close friend of mine today. And I can't remember who the other individual was, but they got it was a 2-for-1. So they got Mike Arnold, and then they got me and another guy on defense. And so that was my last shot. But actually Corey Yeoman, you know, I think that he gave me excuse me, you know, he instilled in me, you know, that I could have a chance to play. And that was I'm sorry, no, I know that won't make it on there, but you know, Corey Yeoman, he instilled in me that I have that opportunity. And you know, I say that today in my journey, certainly Penn football is one of the most influential things in my life. You know, I put my faith family, Penn football, and Wabash College really. So But at that point, which was the summer before my junior year, I remember going in and just listening, and in the off season, I had followed all the rules, and I was hitting the weight room, and making a difference there. And so there wasn't a whole lot of I mean, I think a lot of kids did that.
Sure, yeah.
And that summer, I remember there were certain things that I needed to do, and one of those was the 12-minute run. So it was roughly a little over a mile and a half, and you had to do it in 12 minutes, and I hadn't hit it before. And I said, hey, if I don't make this, I'm not going to have any chance. And I almost looked at almost like a new career on the new side of the ball.
Yeah.
And so I said, here's my chance to really, if I'm gonna play. And then as a player, you start counting where you are and where you're gonna fit in. And one thing that Corey did is he would, and I think all coaches did this, but he, would meet with us and say, hey, where do you want to be? And you'd set up a plan, so to speak. I remember that distinctly. And so they gave me the opportunity, and I took advantage of it, and I think with some luck as well, that it ended up being a successful run for me. And I think that, but one thing that stands out is when I came in, I think this really instilled confidence. Coach Geyer had said, hey, he came up to me after one of the first full pads practices, and he said, hey, you're a one-man wrecking crew out there. And I was like, man, I could play with these guys. And so that's my story there.
You look back on the story, and it's about a journey. It's about all those experiences leading up to finally getting that opportunity to play, and to be able to walk off the field after and winning a state championship is, I mean, there's only one set of group of kids that wins, and they can walk with their heads held high for the rest of their lives in each one of our classes now in Indiana high school football. I want you to take me back to that moment of walking off the field, of being a part of that. I mean, that had to be, that had to enhance that journey 100-fold.
Oh yeah, I think it was a storybook, really. Sure. And particularly for that class, and for all my friends in that class. Those folks were, I think when we came into camp in the fall, it was like, gosh, you guys are going to be the first to really have a problem winning keeping the regular season record intact, and the heritage that comes along with that. And I remember looking around and talking with Jocelyn Goodman, and he was like really worried, and he's like, this is going to be a rough season. And I think part of that too was everybody not wanting to let the other guy down because of that. And so I think that you got to remember, we followed a class that was supposed to be, top ranked in the nation, right? And so we felt that we had the shoulder, and this is just in my opinion, we kind of felt that we had on our shoulders the common tradition at stake. And so I think that's what really matters. So when we walked off that field, I remember it vividly, and more pride than you can ever know. And a testament to all the hard work. And I think as a kid, just to know that you've put all that hard work in, and here are your fruits, that's going to transcend time.
One of the things I've tried to keep in a common theme here going is there's always some hilarious moments that guys they still laugh about to this day.
Yeah.
When the teammates get together and they do the reunions, or they still laugh about some of the stuff the coaches did or some of their teammates did that are funny still to this day. Sometimes 30, 40 years after the fact, they're still funny. Do you have one of those funny favorite moments for you during your time at Penn High?
There are so many that I can't, I can't pick. I can pick just one, but there are just so many that come to mind. But I think that the most, the one that will stand out forever, and actually my brother-in-law, who Sean Watterson, I got to know my wife actually through Sean. He played in '95 and graduated in '96 in Penn's team, so he was around me a lot, and around me when Coach Corey was digging into me pretty good. And I think that one thing that stands out is that anybody that I've ever worked with knows that you gotta kind of, I'm an aggressive personality. I need somebody to come after me aggressively, and it's gonna pan out well. You know, I can remember Coach Corey. This was probably in September, and he always had these one-liners, and I'm certain he still does. But he said, you know, Rice, you got your head so far up your ass, you're gonna need your glass stomach to see out of. And I think it just stopped. It stopped practice, and everybody was dying laughing. But you know, it was those kind of moments that were motivating to me, and I would always be certain that at the end of the practice he would be there, you know, to coach me up, and you know, he was like a dad.
One of the things that, you know, there's a lot of serious moments in this, but they always kind of kept it light. One of the things that I've come to realize over the years is that Coach Giesman did a wonderful job of instilling that power and authority, if you will, to his assistant coaches. They were head coaches of their own positions, and they were able to get inside the cranium of a 16, 17, or 18-year-old kid and really kind of change their lives. And more often than not, the assistant coach has a bigger impact than the head coach does in many, many situations. So I want you to kind of just expand on your relationship with your position coach, Coach Yeoman, and just talk about the impact he had in your life.
Well, like any organization, I think that Coach Giesman does a wonderful job in scope and talent, not only with the players, but with his team, his coaching team, and the coaches. And obviously, you know, over just a whole lineage of Yeomans involved with the program. But I think that there's a certain amount of trust that comes with in working with those coaches for a long time, and then you know, them gaining experience to do what they need to do to get the job done. And I'll tell you, you know, personally and professionally, I've been around a lot of coaches, and you know, I played at Wabash College for 4 years, and a lot of those coaches are coaching at a different level. And I haven't had, I mean, there were some good ones, but no one that was as influential and good, really, with the X's and O's as I think that this staff was. And I think they're smart guys, and I think if you could go across the country, and I lived in Concord, California, which is right outside of, I don't know if you know, Concord de La Salle, and I'd get in some discussions with those folks, whether it be at a bar or something, about Concord football, and some of the coaches would come around, or former players, and they were familiar with Penn and you know, and Coach Giesman. So, you know, I think that was just, again, instilled a lot of pride in where you come from. But, you know, I can remember also, just subsequent to your time I mean, let's be honest, it's only like really 3 years that you're being influenced and being coached up by these folks. But in coming back, you know, they're coming back to see whether it's a practice or whether it's a game. Everybody's they're glad to see you, and you're always a part of the team, and that I think that probably was the Kingsman way transcends time, and it sounds cliche, but it's so true. You know, once a Kingsman, always a Kingsman. That's it's something that I'm certainly proud of. So
good stuff.